Ilara had always been strong, not just in body, but in heart. She lived on the human colony of Nova Silva, a distant planet where forests reached beyond the clouds, and rivers shone with colors she had never seen on Earth. The colony was small, made of steel and glass structures, yet it thrived because of the courage of its settlers. Among them, Ilara had found her place as an explorer, someone who studied the planet's alien wildlife and strange glowing plants. She had a mate, Jaren, a man with steady hands and careful eyes. They had shared many days together, but their love was fragile. Jaren was cautious to the point of fear, while Ilara was bold to the point of recklessness. He often warned her, "The forest is alive, Ilara. It watches. It waits. You can't control it." But she had always smiled, her eyes bright with determination. "The forest is full of wonders, Jaren," she would reply. "If we never explore, we will never know." One morning, a message arrived from the colony outpost on the northern ridge. Strange movements had been detected, creatures unknown, moving with precision, avoiding human patrols. The council feared an attack, and a small team was sent to investigate. Ilara volunteered immediately, and Jaren insisted on joining her, his voice trembling with concern. "I don't like this, Ilara. It feels dangerous." She only laughed and took his hand. "We will be careful. Together, we are strong." But as the team entered the forest, danger revealed itself in ways they could not expect. Shadows moved in the corners of their vision, shapes that were neither animal nor human. The plants seemed to sway unnaturally, as if guiding or warning. Ilara noticed at first the patterns in the glowing vines, the soft rustle of leaves that sounded almost like whispers. She stopped and studied them, trying to understand what they meant. Jaren, however, could see only fear. His mind raced with possibilities of attack, of creatures hiding and waiting to strike. When the first movement came, a dark figure slinking between the trees, his instinct took over. Without a word, he ran, leaving Ilara behind. She called after him, her voice echoing through the dense forest, but Jaren did not turn. Her heart broke, not just from fear, but from betrayal. She had trusted him. They were supposed to face dangers together. But now she was alone. The forest embraced her, dark and endless. At first, Ilara stumbled. She had survival skills, but nothing could fully prepare her for the strange energy of the Nova Silva forest. Plants glowed in strange colors, some illuminating her path, while others seemed to pulse with danger. She soon realized that the forest was intelligent, responding to her movements. The more she listened, the more she understood. Days passed, or perhaps weeks' time was strange here. Ilara learned to find water in glowing streams and food in plants that changed color as they ripened. She noticed creatures watching her, small, multi-eyed animals that darted quickly between the trees and larger ones with sleek bodies and scales that reflected light. At first, they were cautious, keeping their distance, but over time, they began to follow her. Curious about the human who walked unafraid, Ilara began to explore deeper, discovering ruins buried beneath roots and vines, ancient structures, strange symbols, and machines that hummed faintly with energy. She realized this was not just a forest, it was a living archive of an alien civilization, one that had long vanished. Fascinated, she spent hours studying the ruins, learning to operate devices that no human had touched in centuries. Each discovery made her stronger, more capable, more connected to the forest around her. One night, as she rested under a glowing tree, she felt a presence unlike anything before. It was calm, yet powerful. A being emerged from the shadows, a tall, elegant creature with skin that shimmered like liquid silver. Its eyes were large and intelligent, filled with curiosity rather than hostility. Ilara did not flee. Instead, she bowed slightly, respecting the being's presence. The alien seemed to understand her immediately. It spoke not in words but in thoughts, a clear, gentle voice in her mind. "You are not like the others. You are brave. You belong here if you choose." Ilara realized she did belong, in a way no one in the colony could ever understand. She spent months learning from the alien beings, understanding the energy of the forest, the rhythm of the planet, and the harmony between life and machine. She discovered she could manipulate the bioluminescent energy, creating light to guide her path or shields to protect herself. Years passed. The girl who had once cried for Jaren became a woman of immense skill and knowledge. She could communicate with every creature in the forest, tame even the most dangerous predators, and harness the strange technology left behind by the aliens. Her hair, once dark and soft, now shimmered with strands that reflected the moonlight, and her eyes glowed faintly when she touched the alien machines. Back in the colony, Jaren and others had long given up hope. They spoke of her only in whispers, telling stories of the brave human who had vanished, perhaps eaten by the forest or lost forever. Yet the forest held her, teaching her, strengthening her, and shaping her into something more than human. Alara came to understand the truth. She did not need Jaren or the colony to define her. The forest was home, its energy her guide, its creatures her allies. And she had a new mission, one born from her pain, her survival, and her growth. She would one day return, not as the girl who had been abandoned, but as a leader, a warrior, and a queen. One evening, as she stood atop a cliff overlooking the canopy, she felt the pull of the moon stronger than ever. The alien technology beneath her feet hummed with anticipation. She raised her hands, and the forest responded, streams of light flowing from plant to plant, from creature to creature. A new name whispered through the wind, the Luna Queen. Alara smiled, a quiet but fierce smile. The girl who had been left behind was gone. In her place was someone stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever challenges awaited. She did not know when she would return to the colony. But she knew one thing clearly. When she came back, everything would change. The forest was alive, and she was its queen. Years had passed since Alara disappeared into the forest of Nova Silva. In that time, she had grown into something extraordinary. Her body had become strong and agile, her mind sharp and precise. She had mastered the alien technology hidden beneath the forest, learned the language of its creatures, and discovered ways to harness the moon's energy to protect and heal. Her presence had transformed the forest itself. Plants glowed brighter, rivers sparkled, and creatures moved with coordination, as if they understood her will. Meanwhile, back at the colony, life continued without her. Jaren had aged, and the burden of guilt weighed heavily on him. The settlers remembered Alara as the fearless girl who vanished. Some even blamed themselves for not helping her more. Then came the day that everything changed. Reports arrived from the northern ridge that alien ships were approaching. They were unlike anything the colony had seen before, sleek, fast, and armed with energy weapons. Panic spread quickly. The colony's defenses were strong for minor threats, but these invaders were far beyond what humans had faced. Communication with the surrounding settlements showed that others were also under attack. The colony needed help, but no reinforcements were coming. Jaren, now older but still strong in spirit, tried to rally the settlers. "We cannot face them alone," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "We need something more. Something powerful." He remembered Elaru, her bravery, her knowledge, her connection to the forest. Though he hated to admit it, he wished she were here. But she was gone, or so he thought. Suddenly, a glowing light appeared above the treetops. At first, people assumed it was an energy surge from the alien ships. But then the figure descended, moving with grace and authority. She was radiant. Her hair shimmered like strands of silver in the moonlight, and her eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the energy of the alien machines she had mastered. The settlers gasped in awe. It was Alara. She landed softly, her presence commanding respect without a word. The colony froze, unsure whether to run or approach. Jaren stepped forward cautiously. His eyes were wide, filled with shock and disbelief. "Alara? Is it really you?" he asked. Alara's gaze met his. For a moment, there was silence. She saw the fear, the regret, and the lingering affection in Jaren's eyes. But she was not the same girl who had once cried in the forest. She had grown beyond fear, beyond betrayal. "I am here," she said, her voice calm but firm. "And things will change." The alien invaders had already begun their descent. They fired beams of energy, striking at the colony's defenses. Ilara raised her hands, and the forest responded. Light surged from the trees, forming barriers that blocked the alien weapons. Creatures she had trained charged forward, coordinated and fearless. Machines she had repaired emerged from the undergrowth, their energy pulsating with power she controlled. The settlers watched in amazement as the human they had thought lost became their greatest protector. Ilara moved with precision, directing both human and alien forces. She instructed settlers to take positions, guiding them through the battle with strategies that combined human ingenuity and alien technology. Energy streams flowed from her fingertips, creating shields and guiding attacks. Her allies from the forest's sleek, fast creatures and flying luminescent beings attacked with perfect coordination. The invaders were confused and unprepared for this level of resistance. Jaren followed her commands, working alongside her for the first time in years. Though he was still human and bound by his limitations, he marveled at her skill and leadership. Together, they coordinated the colony's defenses, weaving human and alien capabilities into a single, unstoppable force. As the battle continued, Ilara faced the alien leader, a towering figure clad in dark, reflective armor. It had underestimated the power of the forest and the human who had become its queen. She moved quickly, combining agility and energy, striking at weak points in the alien's armor. The invader faltered, and with a final surge of lunar energy, Ilara immobilized it, sending a clear message to the remaining forces. Resistance was futile, with the enemy defeated. The colony stood in silence. The settlers stared at her in awe, unsure whether to cheer or bow. Ilara walked among them, her expression serious but not unkind. She had saved them, yet she knew that leadership came with responsibility. Jaren approached her once more, his voice low. I was wrong, Ilara. I should have stayed. I should have never left you." She looked at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. But she also saw the past she had overcome. "The past is gone, Jaren," she replied. "I survived. I grew stronger. And now we face the future together. If you are willing to follow me, not as a mate, but as an ally and protector of our people." The colony slowly began to rebuild, guided by Ilara's vision. She united humans and the forest-dwelling creatures, teaching cooperation and respect. Under her leadership, the colony flourished in ways it had never imagined. Humans learned to navigate the forest safely, harnessing its energy without harming it. Creatures of the forest, once shy and distant, became active participants in the colony's growth. Jaren worked closely with Ilara, learning humility, courage, and strategy. Though their past was complicated, he found respect and admiration for the woman she had become. The settlers, inspired by her leadership, began to refer to her as the Luna Queen, a title born not of fear, but of honor and admiration. Months passed, and the colony thrived under her guidance. Trade with nearby settlements improved, and defenses became stronger than ever. Ilara continued to explore, pushing the boundaries of human and alien knowledge. Her presence reminded everyone that humanity was capable of growth beyond ordinary limits, that courage, wisdom, and compassion could turn even betrayal and loss into strength. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the forest canopy, Ilara stood atop a cliff, overlooking the colony. The wind carried the whispers of the forest, and the moonlight reflected off her eyes. She was no longer the girl abandoned in fear and sorrow. She was a queen, a leader, and a protector. Jaren approached, silent but supportive. "You've changed everything, Ilara. You've shown us who we can be." She smiled softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We all have the potential for greatness. Even those who falter can learn, grow, and fight for what is right." The forest shimmered in response, and the colony below glowed warmly in the moonlight. The humans and their allies had survived the impossible, guided by one woman's courage and vision. Ilara, the Luna Queen, had returned not for revenge or recognition, but to protect, to lead, and to inspire. As the night deepened, looked to the horizon, knowing that new challenges would come. But now, she was ready. Nova Silva was no longer a colony afraid of the unknown. It was a home where humans and aliens could coexist, where courage was rewarded, and where the past could be transformed into a future of hope. Ilara's journey had begun in loss, betrayal and fear, but it had transformed into triumph, leadership, and unity. The Luna Queen stood tall, her eyes reflecting the light of the moons, a symbol of humanity's resilience and strength. She had vanished into the forest once, but she returned not as a victim, but as a queen, and nothing would ever be the same again.